Hi everyone, welcome back to the Hood and Duct Hangout with Omni Containment. This is Mike Saganic. We got Skip Lewis, and I almost forgot your name, Gary, and Gary Weldon from Omni Containment. Today we're going to go over the versatility of the Omni hinges. The guys are going to break down, like I said, the versatility of them. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them in the chat here and we'll address them. Or feel free to shoot an email to either Tim, Skip, or Gary. Guys, you want to go over the hinges?
Okay, well, I'll start. Happy Friday, everyone, and give you a brief synopsis of why hinges are necessary in the first place. Their main purpose is to protect service workers and repair people who have occasion to be near the fan. That's why they're up there. And if you've got a flimsy hinge or no hinge at all, they are susceptible to having fans fall on their heads, fingers, and if they have to take the entire fan off the curb and set it on the roof is also susceptible to damage, as is the fan itself. A few other reasons, but hinges are necessary, and not just because of the NFPA 96 code. Those are the reasons that code is there. It's not there frivolously.
Are there other hinges that are NFPA 96 compliant?
Not other than our super hinge. No.
Okay.
No, there's a couple of factory hinges that the small L brackets, they'll have a spring-loaded pin that'll go into it, and that meets the requirements because it's a hard fastener that holds it open.
Gotcha.
But to that extent, I'm going to be bold in it and say it's not built to the quality. It's pressed, sheet steel, where ours are, cold rolled steel, and just higher quality. And plus those ones, we've seen a lot of pictures. If you follow any of our blogs, you're going to see some of the results of putting those on, where if it's a larger fan, just hangs back in that corner. When they put the weight up on it, it'll just fold that corner over.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
And that's why the next question comes into play. Okay, hinges are necessary. Why the Omni Super Hinge in particular? Gary just gave a couple reasons. Strong and durable, easy to install, and very friendly safety-wise as far as service providers are concerned. One other reason that makes them the best is the versatility and adjustable nature of these hinges. Almost any hinge can be installed on your typical fan with just straight up and down, no unusual configurations. The ones where the duct is tapered, or if there's a mismatch where the bell's out here, the curb is out there, your typical fan cannot be installed on those without great difficulty. With the Omni Super Hinge, we've got a variety of ways to get around that, from adding shims or spacers to take care of minor incompatibilities, to adjustable arms and pivot arms to handle every other situation, even back rolled rods to compensate for that offset. Gary will go into a little further about what makes our hinges different.
First, let's talk about the two styles. Number one is going to be the quick fit. The quick fit will just slide right on. The fan could technically be running while you're doing it. It doesn't need to be opened or removed. I've installed a couple of hundred of these things, and general install time, if the conditions are perfect, mind you, that's a big if, it maybe 15-20 minutes start to finish to install a set of hinges on a fan.
Okay.
In worst case scenario, if the fan base is pretty beaten up, you have to straighten it out so that you can get it into these tabs. Let me try to get in there close enough so that you guys can see these. These tabs is where the edge of the hinge will slide in there. You put your bolts, and on the back side there's a hole here. One of the biggest misconceptions that people do is when they're trying to install these, they think that the bolt that you're putting in is going through this hole. Some of them will even drill it out. That's a faulty practice. What this is designed to do is create a dimple. That dimple is going to pinch the fan base in between the bolt and this tab here and hold it securely. Believe me, I've done a lot of our trade show displays, and on these trade show displays, try to get the wrong way.
No.
On these trade show displays, when we'll change it out, changing fan bases and whatnot, you'll actually have to use a punch to straighten it back out so you can slide these arms off. So that's our quick fit. The super hinge.
How long do those take to put on? You said about 15 minutes?
About 15 minutes on a good, like a newer fan or a straight fan that hasn't been beaten up at all. Now, one that has been beaten up quite a bit, you can straighten it and spend the time straightening up that fan base so that you can slide it on. But that's one of the reasons why we still have the super hinge. As you can see, the super hinge is made out of 2-inch angle. It attaches both along the top. You can see the holes here, and then on the side as well, along here. One of the biggest things to this is it adds structural rigidity back into a fan. When you have a fan that's been beaten up, maybe for years, people are picking it up, setting it on the roof, maybe it's fallen a couple times during that process. This is going to add structural rigidity back into the fan base. The only issues
that's going to extend the life of your fan?
Yeah, and it should increase the seal back into the fan, because if it's been warped or anything, it's going to give it back into a flat plane.
Gotcha. Okay.
One of the things that will limit this is when you have a wind band on a fan that comes all the way out to the edge of the fan base. You need at least 2 inches of clearance between the fan or the edge of the fan base to the wind band. We can notch these out. We've done it several times. There's a lot of special measurements that we need to be able to do that.
Our camera guy.
So we can notch this out, a little bit to be able to make up for that. But in most of those scenarios where the wind band goes all the way to the edge of the fan base or even over the fan base, you probably want to go with the quick fit. The biggest thing that makes a Omni hinge so versatile is this pivot bolt right here. This is where you do all of your adjustments. You can see the little spacers that we have in there, also the spacers here that we're going to talk about in a minute. But you can do an offset up to about a 3-inch offset, so 1.5 inches, where let's say you got a 21-inch fan or a curb and a 24-inch fan base. This will allow us to adjust that, and the service hold open pin will still be in place.
Okay.
Now this is set up, and this is what we call an adjustable fan or adjustable hinge. We put a lot of spacers in it. This would go up against the curb. This is going to slide up into the fan base. So if you have a fan base that's severely offset, the fan base is say 30 and it's going on a 25-inch curb, you've got those 5 inches. Well, your pin is only 3 inches long. It's not going to have a service hold open retainer anymore. So by putting these spacers in here where this is sitting on the curb, this is going to the fan. This is a 2.5-inch offset that we have here. So now you could put this hinge right here with ease on a 25-inch curb to a 30-inch fan base. Obviously not this is an 18-inch hinge, but on the proper sized hinge. And what this does is it moves the cam over. That's this little D-shaped piece here close to the upper arm so that you can put the pins in. And if you look onto the curb, you've got these 2 holes here. This is so that it can be locked closed. When we put these on prisons, they'll actually throw a lock onto it so that somebody can't tamper with that fan and escape or break into the prison. And then when it goes open, it lines up again, and that's your service hold open pin.
Okay. What are these? And what's these are made out of?
Cold rolled steel.
So durability is not going to be an issue.
Yeah, durability is not going to be an issue. The 18s and 24s are made stock with 1/4 inch steel. The 30 inch and above is 3/8 inch cold rolled steel. It gives a little more rigidity when you're applying it to a larger fan with a little more weight to it.
That's one of the other things that makes this hinge so versatile, not just the ability to adapt and offset, but the sizes that we have. Start at 18 inch all the way up to 48 inches for the biggest fans you'll ever find. So that's another example of the versatility. You don't want to put the wrong size hinge on a smaller or on a larger fan. You want to match it up properly. We have a form that will show you how or which hinge is the right one for a particular fan. We'll help you with that as well.
Okay.
Actually, we had one of our larger clients that has been doing this for a long time, and we had a discussion about that 60% rule that we try to do. And one thing to remember is this cam into the back of it, the overall length of the hinge is from this tip to this tip. So this is an 18-inch hinge, but it only has 12 inches of actual attachment to it. So take that into account. That 6 inches is the pivoting area onto a hinge.
Okay.
So when you're trying to project that on a 24-inch fan base, an 18 or a 24 would go onto it. A 24-inch hinge is not going to go tip to tip. It's only going to be covering 18 inches of that fan base, which is more than enough. But just keep that in mind when you're trying to do those calculations in your head as far as ordering which hinge is going to be the best for you.
Okay.
One of the other big things that we see is tapered ducts. So that's where you've got your fan base sitting on top of a duct and it tapers, maybe it extends out. I think that most of you guys, whether you're a restaurateur or whether you're a service provider, have seen these. We have a solution for that, and this is what's called our pivot bracket. And what this does is it goes on like your normal hinge. You can see everything straight up and down. But if we have a reverse or a negative or a plus angle on that, this will bend so that you are still going flat onto a surface either way. And what that allows is for you still to maintain your flush mount, but still allow for that taper or that pivot.
Ah, gotcha. So what are the sizes of all the hinges?
We start off with an Econo hinge. The Econo hinge is 10 inches overall. Basically, that is good up to a 12-inch fan base, according to our standards of being able to attach to 60-inch, or 60%, sorry. And then we go into a 12-inch, or I'm sorry, 18-inch, a 24, 36, 30, 42, and then we can do sizes bigger than that up to a 48. And above and beyond that, they're custom order, and we do beef everything up because obviously that's a much larger weight that we're going to have to deal with.
Okay. So without these fans, it's going to make life a whole lot tougher. Or without the fans, without the hinges.
Yeah. A lot of parts.
Without the fans, it'd be a little rough too.
Yeah, you need both of them.
Yeah, I think it just makes cleaning easier. Anybody that's installed these, anybody that's used them, I think that they'll attest to the fact of instead of having two guys up there to pick up a fan, set it onto a roof, with a super hinge, you can just grab that bad boy, rock it back, put your service hole open pins, and go to work.
All right. So if I'm a restaurant owner or manager, what's my benefit, right? So I get this, and it's going to allow my KEC company to come in, be more efficient, get it done quicker, and obviously safer, right?
Yeah, and not only that, but it extends the life of your fan. It's exponential in the whole thing. If the fan's not drawing properly, maybe there's not a good seal as it's sitting on the curb of the fan, it's going to overwork that fan. Thus, your costs are going to go up. A lot of the fans nowadays are computer controlled, so that the draw according to temperatures and the makeup errors and everything else, it's going to overwork that fan, the variable pitches and everything else that goes along with it.
Okay.
By installing one of these and maintaining that proper seal that is between the fan and the curb, it just helps that out. Not only that, but you're not going to be beating up the fan itself with that flexing of it as it's being picked up and taken off. That wind band where it goes to the fan base, a lot of times that seal breaks on it. You get grease seepage all over it. There's just a ton of Skip, do you have any?
Well, yeah, besides protecting the fan itself, it also protects the restaurant owner's roof.
Great
when the hood and duct cleaners have to clean these fans, or when repair people have to fix them, if there's not a good hinge on there, they have to lift that fan entirely off the curb, set it down on the roof. That fan is unwieldy, it's heavy, it's greasy, and they slip off. And even if they're set down gently, there's corners all over the place that damage the roof quite often. And simply, it's it's the NFPA 96 code. That code isn't there just to cause the restaurants to spend more money. It's there for safety purposes for both the service people and the property itself. Another thing, if there's a hinge on there, it's far more likely that that fan area is going to be cleaned properly, therefore reducing the risk of grease buildup and the potential fuel it might provide for a fire. All sorts of reasons for the restaurant owner to do it. And one last thing about hinges, unlike grease containment, it's almost always a one-time purchase. Omni has a lifetime warranty on our hinges, and we honor.
Oh, that's great.
We honor it on rare occasions because we don't have to. But when it does come up, even if the customer has put a smaller hinge on a larger fan that they should have used a different, larger hinge on, we honor it. And we're focused on keeping our customers happy, and that's one way we do it. The lifetime warranty is very solid.
That's great. And I know this also stands up to any federal, regional, and local stormwater protections as well, right? The hinge. I mean, it's steel, so it's going to stand through all the weather, right?
Yeah, it's part of the entire process. Yeah, it's an integral part of a NFPA 96 compliant system.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the biggest things as far as restaurant owners, managers, facility managers, anything like that, is the service hold open retainer is called for in NFPA 8.1.1.2, which states that all upblast fans surrounded, where the motor is surrounded by air, should be equipped, and I'm quoting this just off the top of my head, should be equipped with a water tight flexible power cable or whip, basically, and a hinge with a service hold open retainer.
Just pulled that right out of thin air, huh?
Yeah,
Sounds like you got that down pat there, Gary.
I may have read it once or twice.
All right. Well, thanks, gentlemen, for going over the hinges this week. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email Gary. What's your email address, Gary?
Gary at omnicontainment.com.
And Skip?
Mine's the same, except for Skip instead of Gary.
And Tim, who's not with us today, he'll be back next week. Tim is at omnicontainment.com as well. Stay tuned. Check out our group, the Hood and Duct Hangout. We will have, we answer questions there, and it's for anybody who's involved in the KEC industry. We answer questions about the products, any issues that you may be having with installing any of the products that you have, or situations that you're running into that you need help on. We also have learning, I want to say devices, learning materials there as well that we'll be uploading even more. How to install, how to measure, as Gary was going over, for the product and where you're going to install it at. So we'll have some learning materials in there as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great weekend.
Happy weekend.